we're going live. So Mary and I are really branching out there on our production skills here. So we welcome you to the show, and we welcome you, Mary. Thank you for joining me. And we are going to continue our discussion about abortion survivor syndrome with our special guest, Dr. Marie Peters Ney. And like I said previously, I've met Dr. Marie and her husband, Dr. Philip Ney, years ago when I attended a Hope Alive training counseling program, or counseling training program, up in beautiful Victoria, Canada, I may add. And I had learned so much from that and healed so many ways from that. But what I really took away from that training that I wanted to bring today and on our previous recording is abortion survivor syndrome, and how through the Ney's counseling programs, Dr. Ney was a psychologist, and he was a psychiatrist too, wasn't he, Marie? But he really worked with younger children and families. And not only did he discover many decades ago about abortion trauma, but he also discovered abortion survivor syndrome through his counseling program. And that's what we talked about previously with Dr. Marie Ney. And we went over and covered 3 types of survivors, and there's 10 types of survivors, which we feel is important for people to know, right, Mary?
Yes, yes.
And we feel it might help people make sense of their life as well once they learn these things. But the first several survivors that we talked about, Dr. Marie, would you like to recap that for us?
Okay. The very common survivor is sibling survivor. So a child has an older sibling that was aborted, or a younger sibling, and they're having to grapple with all that. And it's often manifest in a non-verbal type of way. I remember a teenage boy who came here, and his parents had aborted years ago an older child, and he started having horrific nightmares of being killed, nightmares of being in some kind of terrorist attack and having to cover himself with the blood of the dead so that he could live.
Wow.
And sometimes when a younger child is aborted, there's enormous anger, and or there's the type when a mother or a father would say, "We should have aborted you." It's kind of a death sentence that is thrown at a teenager. Now, with all this modern procreation, you can have embryos that are implanted, and oh dear, there's 3 that are taking. So we're going to selectively kill 1 or 2 so that, or
Right. Selective
living,
abortion. The survivors
selective
of selective
abortion.
abortion.
Um,
I think I recall one, Dr. Marie, about, in fact, I just heard her testimony again. I met this young woman years ago. Um, she spoke at one of our events, but she was a twin, and her twin was aborted. And in the process of aborting her twin, her hips were pulled out of socket. But she survived the abortion because they didn't know there was 2. And so she has survivor syndrome because her twin was aborted.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Or just living in a country, in a society where you have no value. You could be aborted if the parents don't want you, or or the government says we have too many people, you can be aborted. So you have no intrinsic worth.
That's what they
Um,
feel.
Yeah, that's what they feel. So you're alive because you were wanted. The parents wanted you at this time. They wanted a child, or but you're not welcome for who you are. You're wanted. They wanted to have a child, to be normal, have a normal family, whatever. Yeah. So I'll just go through some of the symptoms.
Okay.
So they suffer survivor guilt. I'm alive, but my brother was not alive. So why am I alive? The whole existential anxiety. I want to live, but I'm doomed. And I suffered that as a survivor. And then you have a funny relationship to death because you overcame it once, but you're terrified. And so these children, they drive too fast. They have risky behavior. The anxious attachment, and that is something they carry into adult life and into getting married and trying to form a good relationship with their partner.
So kind of explain a little bit about what anxious attachment is.
Yeah. So I love my parents and they say they love me, but somehow there's something a little twisted. I'm a little bit afraid of them. They have too much power. And so it's not like a secure attachment. You will love me whatever forever. So it's a little bit of testing.
I have heard the phrase, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. Is it kind of
Yeah.
like that?
A little bit like that, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's no, it's a bit an imaginary fear because the parents won't kill them once they're born, right? But a kind of or and kind of distrust. That's with the anxious attachment. My parents say they love me, but how could they have done something like this to a sibling? You know, so what's love? What's
Okay.
and you see there's much more peer relationship. There's a brokenness between the generations. Normally, parents and grandparents, but there's that kind of link has been broken. And then they tell you reality is so awful. I'd rather escape in the drug world. And the temptation to take drugs and just escape. I think survivors explain a lot of the things we see in our society.
For example,
Well, the attraction to being continuously in a virtual world, with your iPhone,
gaming and all those kind of things.
the gangs, the drug attraction, and now the terrible, I find terrible, the chat rooms that they have where they're talking to somebody who's not even a person.
Yeah.
They're sharing, they're getting advice from a non-entity.
Yeah. From AI. Yeah. I just read about how many suicides of young people are related to this AI chat room. So they're not even talking to a real feeling human being, but a computer fed artificial intelligence.
Right.
So it's the
So,
human connection, it's the human relationship. Now, there's another thing that I've mentioned on our show many times, Dr. Marie, but I witness is our society is so angry. There's so much anger out there. And I never really connected it to being maybe a symptom of abortion survivors. I did connect it to being a symptom of abortion wounded people, women and men.
yeah,
But do you think that that could be a symptom of abortion survivor as well, anger issues?
right. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
And then the one more thing, this attraction to the occult.
Yeah.
A quick, like a quick power, belonging to something, a secret cult, or and the whole new age where it's not like a personal god.
Mm, yeah.
They crave it. They crave it, but they're afraid of it.
Mm.
So yeah.
So it's all of that all of the things that you're mentioning are really all self-destructive
Yeah.
patterns that not only abortion survivors go through, but also abortion wounded women and men go through. And and that's the kind of the picture I want to paint for our viewers and our listeners is there's nothing good comes from abortion. Nothing. And there's so much destruction, so much dysfunction, so much trauma, so much self-destructive behaviors that I don't know unless you're really healed and thinking logically that you can't even recognize it. I think so many people are so wounded, like even our lawmakers, they're so wounded and so focused on this issue as being some kind of a right that they either refuse to see or they can't see the destruction that's coming from it. What do you think, Mary?
Well, certainly I agree with you, and I wonder how they can not see it. And I've been thinking about how long, like Dr. Peters-Ney and her husband, how long they have been knowing this information. And even today, Molly, we've had a number of guests on who may have been to a mental health provider, and they never even ask the question, do you have an abortion? Or if they know it, they don't connect the dots. So this idea that the harm is known but denied by the medical profession in a way. And I'm just wondering, I know I'm getting a little off topic, but I think it fits together. If we don't acknowledge even just the abortion woundedness of the person that's gone through an abortion, then how can we begin to recognize the survivor syndrome? And I'm wondering what your opinion would be, Doctor.
Yeah.
Your observation, I guess. Yeah.
There's a very interesting observation we made, is that the wounds of being a survivor are so deep and the dehumanization is so profound that often these women or men cannot mourn their aborted baby. And the survivors will tell us we first have to be rehumanized so that we can mourn our aborted baby. And so when you see in society people who say, I don't care, it was nothing, I had an abortion, it was nothing. And you see that more and more. And these are people who are probably survivors and deeply dehumanized. And so they cannot they cannot mourn their aborted baby.
Wow.
They have to reunionize themselves. Yeah, it's a big issue.
It's a huge
Big
issue, but I
issue.
never really connected that with a survivor or syndrome, like you just mentioned. So that's very interesting. Well, Dr. Nay, I would like for you to show our viewers, and we'll talk about it, the two books that you and your husband wrote. One is Abortion Survivor Syndrome, and kind of show that book to us, and then tell people where they can get this book so you can learn more about it. So, the Abortion Survivors, Mount Joy College, Victoria, Canada, by Dr. Philip Nay and Dr. Marie Peters Nay. And that can be obtained through contacting you, Dr. Nay, Dr.
Yes.
Marie. Okay. And if you
Um,
contact us, send us a note, then we'll get you in touch
Yeah.
or have a book sent to you. And how much are they?
15.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
then y'all wrote a book called Deeply Damaged. Do you have one of those books in front of you?
Nope.
And that book can
Sorry.
be found on Amazon, Deeply Damaged, which goes through abortion trauma. And does it touch on abortion survivor as well?
There's a chapter. Yeah.
Okay. Because like I know Mary and I've talked about this many times. Our whole goal for this podcast is to educate our listeners and our viewers on the topic of abortion and its far-reaching impact it has on our lives, on our families, on our culture, on our nation, and to also reach out to you if you're hurting, if you're stuck in your pain. I don't want to say stuck in your pain, but if you haven't healed from those deep wounds, we want to encourage you to go through healing, because your life is so much better on the other side. And it's not easy, because I know even when I went through the Hope Alive training, it was a training. It wasn't a counseling session, but there was many times that I needed a counseling session because it was so deep and so intense. And we really didn't have time to even process through all these stages of this training program. But it was I came away from Victoria a new woman, and so did my friend who went with me. She told me, she goes, "I'm a new woman. I feel so different than when I came," because she had dealt with a lot of things and learned so much. So we want to encourage you to go through healing. We want to encourage you to start getting more educated on this topic, especially abortion survivor syndrome, because we want to heal our nation. And then we hope this podcast will get you to thinking, if you haven't had an abortion, if you're pregnant, if you thought abortion was okay, to start thinking differently on this issue, because it's never okay. It never has a good outcome. Nothing good has ever come from an abortion for anybody involved. And so that's why we do this podcast. And that's why we have such great speakers on, like Dr. Marie. Is there anything, Dr. Marie, you would like to express to our viewers and our listeners? Because time goes by so fast and we're about out of time. Maybe how they can contact Hope Alive, how they can go through the Hope Alive training, or even go through a Hope Alive counseling program. Please address our viewers on that.
Yeah, I think Philip Nay recently died, and so we're busy restructuring the whole organization. But as Molly says, there are many, many good programs out there. And just doing that first step of looking for help. And then sometimes you go to this group and then to that group. You start a journey, a pilgrimage of healing. And
That's good. So they can get the book Deeply Damaged on Amazon, And if you're interested in learning more about abortion survivor syndrome, we can contact Dr. Nay, or would we contact you through Hope Alive website, or how would we get in touch about getting your materials?
Okay. There's an email address, admin@Mountjoy College, and that's .com. And that's mtcollege.com. One
Okay.
word, lowercase.
Okay. MT College.
Mount Joy, wasn't it Joy?
Yeah.
Mountjoy, sorry, MTJoy, MTJOY College, one word,
Okay.
.com.
Okay. Mount
Admin
Joy,
at-
MT, mountjoycollege.com. So you can go to that website and get more information and contact information. So Mary, would you like to close us with the helpline number and all those?
Yes, I would love to do that, but could I ask the doctor just
Yeah.
one more clarifying question? I just want to be sure I understood what you said correctly. What you were saying, what I think you were saying, that today, some of the abortion survivors are the ones having abortions. So they haven't acknowledged or haven't found a place, or they don't know how to acknowledge their survivor syndrome. And so they step into the abortion place sort of callously, not knowingly, but am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
But from their own woundedness or damage from being a survivor. So now we have generation kind of upon generation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to be sure I was understanding that, because that's really big.
Right.
That information is huge.
Yeah.
As to where we are as a society or as a culture today. So
Okay.
yes, if you're listening today and you've been intrigued, and the information that's been shared from Dr. Peters-Ney and Molly, having gone there for training, you can access abortion recovery through the H3 helpline, and it's 866-7. Whoa, I don't have it right in front of me.
That's
I think
okay.
it's 7. Yes, you can at H3 helpline, or you can go to operationoutcry.org, either of those, or just Google them. And operationoutcry.org will have abortion recovery resources, as well as the H3 helpline. And if you can get a hold of some of Dr. Peters-Ney material and her husband, Philip Ney, I think those will be very helpful to you too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Marie, for joining us today. I'd love to have you back, because it's just so much information that we haven't even gotten to yet. And I appreciate you taking time. And again, we've been praying for you. I know the loss of Philip has been very hard for you and for all of us. And thank you, Mary. And thank you all for tuning in to More to the Story with Molly White. We look forward to seeing you again next time. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Mary.